Hey everyone, please support what I do to help keep Greyhawk alive by subscribing to the channel. Also, please consider becoming a channel member to get early access to videos, exclusive live chats, quarterly adventure modules, and more. Thanks, and enjoy the show. Saint Cuthbert is one of the most important and interesting deities in the world of Greyhawk, and we're going to talk about him today on Greyhawk Webinar. So Saint Cuthbert has been around for a long, long time in the D&D world. His first mentions were in 1976. I don't know what order they were, but he was in Dragon Number 2 in a short story that Gary Gygax was writing called Gnome Cache. And there's just a line about being near the shrine of Saint Cuthbert of the Cudgel. Cuthbert spelled with a U, but it's obviously the same thing. He also appeared obliquely that same year in Spells and Wizardry. I'm sorry, Eldritch Wizardry, where the Mace of Cuthbert is to be found. The Mace of Cuthbert is a very holy relic of the times of Saint Cuthbert, usable only by good clerics. Its power is largely unknown, +5 to hit and damage, and it is hard to use. And then it's got a few, artifact powers. The same artifact is also found in the DM's Guide, which was published a couple years later. And they add something here, which is really cool. And just gives a lot of the flavor that Gygax was really, really great at doing. The Mace of Cuthbert, this weapon is said to be that actually used by the venerable Saint Cuthbert of the Cudgel when he demonstrated the folly of error to the unbeliever. Over the decades since then, holy relics of the saint himself have been encased within the mace to give this arm of lawful good a +5 bonus to both hitting and damage, as well as disruption effects. Only clerics with an 18 strength of lawful good alignment are able to use this weapon and gain these other powered effects. And then you're supposed to choose the powers, just like artifacts in first edition. Now, interestingly, they don't really define what a saint is. There are a few other saints that have been added into Greyhawk later on, but basically he's a lesser god. He's over the years he's appeared in a lot of places. I can't obviously go through all of them. A lot of books, a lot of Dragon magazine articles, but the first solid treatment of him was in Dragon magazine, and then that was repeated in the Guide to the World of Greyhawk. And I'm just going to go into that real quickly here because this gives us some interesting information. His alignment is lawful good with neutral tendencies. He's the god of wisdom, common sense, truth, forthrightness, dedication, and zeal. St. Cuthbert appears as a stout, red-faced man with a drooping white mustache and flowing white hair. He wears magic plate mail. Atop his helmet is a crumpled hat, and a starburst of rubies set in platinum hangs on his chest. He carries a billet of wood, bronze wood, it's later confirmed to be, which is known to beguile humans touched by it. In his right hand is the fabled Mace of Saint Cuthbert, although that is not necessarily the case. We'll get to that in a second. This is a powerful weapon, yada, yada, yada. St. Cuthbert hates evil, but his major interest is in law and order and the dual work of conversion and prevention of backsliding by true believers. There are 3 orders of the priesthood of St. Cuthbert. The chapeau, French for hat, obviously, dress in varying garb, but all wear crumpled hats. They seek to convert people to the faith. The stars wear dark green robes with a starburst holy symbol of copper, gold, or platinum, depending on their status. They seek to retain doctrinal purity amongst the faithful. Stars are reputed to be able to read minds. The billets are the most numerous, billets, of course, being a billet of wood that you knock somebody upside the head with. Serving as ministers and protectors of the faithful, they dress in simple brown and russet garments and wear a holy symbol of an oaken or bronzewood billet. While St. Cuthbert has many large places of worship, wayside shrines and small rude chapels are usual. His followers are found mainly in the central Flyness around Greyhawk, the Wild Coast, Ernst, and Verbabong. A great rivalry exists between those who follow St. Cuthbert and the followers of Foltis of the Blinding Light. I love that because that is an example of something I had done a video on a while ago about how just because 2 things are good doesn't necessarily mean they're both allies. They're both in the same side of the alignment scale, but Foltis and St. Cuthbert won't get along because they each think they're the ones who are right in how they do it. And as far as the priests go, there's a little information in the glossography, also from the Gold Box. where Chapeau gain the ability to cast one Shillelagh spell per day at third level. That's normally a druid spell. Stars gain the ability to cast one ESP spell per day at fourth level. That's why they have the reputation for reading minds. They're making sure the faithful are remaining true to doctrine. And the Billets gain the ability to cast one friend spell per day at second level. And this is also an interesting thing because this was the first time we actually saw the idea of specialty clerics in first edition was with the gods of Greyhawk. Um, Now, he also made an appearance in my favorite module, the Temple of Elemental Evil, um, where we get pretty much a recap of what we read in there. Um, but the reason it's important, and here it is, along with a nice little picture of the saint. The reason it's important here is because Saint Cuthbert plays an enormous role in the adventure. It is indeed possible for St. Cuthbert to actually make a physical appearance if Ayaz does as well. They're great rivals, obviously, and there's a chapel of Saint Cuthbert in Hamlet, which has been set up to kind of keep an eye on things and the Temple of Elemental Evil and so forth. So that's one of several different good things that are keeping an eye on the rise of the temple to make sure it doesn't happen again. Um, Now, like I say, there's been tons and tons of different appearances of St. Cuthbert over the years in magazines and so forth. Um, in third edition, he was changed from lawful good with neutral tendencies to just lawful neutral for reasons I'm not really sure of. And somewhere along the line, probably in the third edition era, it was. They brought in the idea that he was not a native of the world of Greyhawk. He's not a native of Earth. He comes from some other place, and the most logical place for him to come from would be Earth, our Earth, because there really is a Saint Cuthbert in Great Britain, which I'll get to in a sec. They kind of imply that the Saint Cuthbert in Greyhawk is actually supposed to be the same Saint Cuthbert from England. There's a couple places where they mention that he was originally like a shepherd, which is why one of his favorite forms is to appear as kind of a yokel when he's on the material plane, because that's what he was when he was alive. And he was just so pure that the gods rewarded him by bringing him to Greyhawk as an example. And then he did so well in that role that he was elevated to godhood. Um, and in Dragon number 100, this is a great thing. There's a an adventure called the Land Beyond the Gate or something like that. Um, it's the City Beyond the Gate, and it takes place in modern day London, modern day in the 80s London. Where the PCs have to go through a magical gate to London to get the Mace of St. Cuthbert, which is actually in the British Museum. Because obviously there's no magic here where we live, so they don't realize that it's a magic item. And the saint himself has supposedly put it there for safekeeping, but they have to get it for some reason for the clerics back in Earth. And it's a wonderful idea. Demons are trying to stop them, obviously, and then they have to run afoul of like the police and all kinds of things. So it's a long adventure for Dragon Magazine. But it's very noteworthy because it does have all this stuff about the saint in there, obviously. And one of the things that's really interesting to me, anyway, is that Saint Cuthbert obviously is a real world saint. So we look in our lives of the saints. This is proof that my library isn't all just about demonology.
The entire house is dark-sided.
And we read, after having been a shepherd, Cuthbert entered the monastery of Melrose. He was then for 12 years prior of the abbey at Lindisfarne. Then for 8 years he lived as a hermit on a small island nearby. Elected Bishop of Hexham against his will, he persuaded the abbot bishop of Lindisfarne to take his place and to give up his to him. A year before his death, he resigned the episcopate and again retired into his island solitude until the Reformation. St. Cuthbert was one of the most popular saints in England. Sailors have taken him as their divine patron. So it's really neat that the background for Saint Cuthbert in the game really reflects the same origins that he has in real life, where he was a shepherd and so forth, a yokel, if you will, and that's a form that he takes in the game. So I love that. that kind of crossover. He's a very great deity to work with in terms of story and adventuring and so forth. It gives a cleric character a perfect excuse to bash heads with a club or a mace or a bronzewood quarterstaff or something, and you don't have to make up some long excuse on why is your cleric so violent. Well, yeah, he's supposed to do this. He's supposed to clout people upside the head for being non-believers, which I love. And he does have some reaction relationships with other deities. Obviously, as we mentioned, he's got the rivalry with Foltus of the Shining Light, who with whom he shares a lot of things, which is probably why they're rivals, because they're so close together. They share the same space, and there's not room for both of them there, even though they're both on the side of good for the most part. Um, there is obviously the rivalry between him and Ayuz, as we saw in Temple of Elemental Evil. It's very possible that if Ayuz arrives, then Saint Cuthbert will also show up, and there'll be a standoff, and they'll both leave. He is an ally of the greater deity Rao, who's a kind of a peaceful, good. Serene kind of deity, so that makes a lot of sense. On the whole, plus you have those the three different orders of clerics of Saint Cuthbert, which I think is a neat little bit of a little bit of color that you have in there with the different roles that they have. That makes sense if you're designing a religion. I wish they went into a lot more detail like that for some of the other deities. But on the whole, he is a wonderful deity, very popular in the Flâness, especially in the central areas. So you have a lot of opportunity to bring him and his church into things. Obviously, he's in Hamlet. He's got the shrine there. I believe there's another one in the city of Greyhawk itself. So it's just a very um, uh, kind of prototypical lawful good deity. This is kind of uptight, doesn't accept any disagreement kind of thing. But if from a storytelling point of view, friction like that generates story. Generates conflict, which generates story. So that's a good thing if you're looking for excuses and opportunities for role playing and for adventuring. So anyway, hope you like this one. Obviously, I couldn't go through everything because there's a ton of material on him. But I hope this overview helps you get a kind of an idea for him. He's got those real world ties. He's a person who was actually elevated to godhood. They've worked up a whole bunch of legends and stuff about him in the over the years. So it's a very very neat thing to work with in terms of the story. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will talk to you all later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Please remember to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Below you'll find links to my Patreon, which helps make these videos possible. You'll also find the web store where you can buy my books, and my blog where you'll find all sorts of free downloads and other articles. Thanks, and have a great day.